On today's episode of Titus and Tate, it is our NBA draft preview. Would you believe it, Tate? The draft
Can't believe it.
is this Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It snuck up on us.
Yeah.
Do we need more time? On the one hand, I think we do because I'm still kind of like soaking in the finals. The Warriors just had their parade, and you're kind of, or at least I was watching that and
Shout out to Klay Thompson.
Yeah, yes.
American hero.
I'm absorbing all that content. To where it feels like the draft is too soon and I need more time, more runway. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, in preparation for the show, I have listened to every podcast. I've read everything there's to read, I feel, and my brain's going to explode from draft content.
We crammed for the test, and now we're freezing.
Yeah. Now I forget who's even in the draft.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't need more time between the into the finals of the draft.
But the good news is that we don't have to cram because we watch these guys all season long in college basketball. So that is the good news. We do have a bit of an advantage there, even though the draft experts will not like you to know this. Yep. They do not want you to know that we have theoretically watched more than they have.
We have.
Don't say that.
And so today we're going to be discussing Colin Gillespie, Johnny Juzang.
Yes.
Whether they will go in the top 5, top 10, where we see.
Where does Alondas Williams go? I see late first round.
How many Indiana Hoosiers will be taken in the first round of the
Jake LaRavia, top 5 pick in my book.
Jake LaRavia. I'm excited to talk about Jake LaRavia. We have Sam Vecenie on the show. If you follow NBA draft stuff, you already know who Sam Vecenie is. If you do not,
good for you.
Yeah. And you listen to the show, you also already know who Sam Vecenie is because we have him on all the time. And Sam is the preeminent NBA draft expert. He's the guy that knows everything. He literally just posted his 90,000. I'm not making this up. This is direct from his tweet. We'll get an official count on the first draft of this, but he said it was 90,000 words, the final copy of his draft guide for this year. 90,000 words.
Which, let's be honest, 3% of the population reads books?
That's a book, dude.
That is beyond. That's an encyclopedia of basketball. But he should have gone for 100,000. I think if you're that close, and who's really reading it anyway? Just throw in some extra words. Like all you have to do is throw one like in for every single page.
We need more varies.
Yes.
He is very, 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 very athletic. Very athletic. Sprinkle more of those in. Sam writes for The Athletic. He posted that. He's a great friend of ours. He's come on the show every iteration of the show that we've had. He's been our guy we turn to for the draft. So
he came on Teed Up.
I think he did.
I think he did.
I think he did.
We'll check. We'll check the tape.
So that's what we're doing today. We're gonna talk to Sam. We're gonna ask him questions such as who is going number 1 in this draft, who is going number 2 in this draft, who is going number 3, who's going number 4, who is going number 5.
And we're gonna hold him to it because if it doesn't happen, we're gonna have to put him on the fraud power rankings if none of these things come true.
And most importantly, who's going number 6 to the Indiana Pacers? We're gonna throw some stuff like that on. So if you love the NBA draft, you are going to absolutely love the show. Mm-hmm. If you don't love the draft, maybe after we say goodbye to Sam, Tate and I will solve MJ versus LeBron once and for all.
Well, speaking of LeBron, if you're looking for your Shabazz Napier in this draft, we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, at some point. You know, the random guard that nobody wants that LeBron loves.
Yeah, the guy who did LeBron tweet about?
Yeah.
So without further ado, that's it. That's we're gonna welcome Sam on right out of the gate. We're gonna talk NBA draft with Sam Vecenie for a little while and see where this thing goes. All that coming up, but first,
Woody Durham.
All right, let's get into it. We are joined now by Sam Vecenie, longtime friend of the program. He's been coming on the show. You were coming on our shows when we were doing Ringer shows for sure. I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Yeah, he came into the studio. We've been doing this a long time.
A lot of drafts.
I think that I think I killed the Ringer show because I think I was on the last one.
Oh, that's right. He was. There you go. That's a
RIP One Shining Podcast.
Bit of trivia. Sam Vecenie was the final guest on the One Shining Podcast. You can listen to his podcast, and you should. You should probably just stop listening to ours right now and just go listen to Sam's. If you're into the NBA draft, you should be listening to Sam's already. Game Theory. He hosted with Matt Penny, fellow walk-on, by the way. Matt Penny, UMass legend. Also writes for The Athletic, where he today. You tweeted, Sam, that it was 90,000 words. What was the first draft word count of the draft guide this year?
like 95, something like that. Not crazy. I mean, I send it off to the editors. I just kind of write a bunch of words and they end up publishing it. I don't really know. Once I send it off, I don't really know how it works. I'm just like, go for it. Do with this what you will.
Yeah.
Sam, how close were you as you looked at the word count and you saw 95,000? Did you say to yourself, I could add in 5,000 more words. I could get to six figures. I could get to 100,000. Was that on your mind, or do you have too much respect for the game? You're like, I've said all I need to say at this point.
Yeah, because we could have photoshopped your head on Wilt.
Yes, 100,000.
Last year's was like 120. It was bad.
Oh,
it was it was way too many.
Better draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I've been pulled in a number of different directions this year in terms of work and in terms of the podcast, being successful on some level now, it takes a bit more of my time. So I wasn't able to get to 100. I guess I only got to 90.
Half-assed effort from Sam this year.
We were just going to add in like some varies and likes. We were willing to go back and do that for you, but it's all good.
He's very good.
Yeah. Very, very
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk NBA draft, and we have to start with a question that haunted Tate and I all season. It was a college basketball question that is now, as this draft class is going on to the NBA, is becoming an NBA draft question. It is, who is the Kevin Durant of this draft? And we have Jabari, we have Chet, we have Paolo, we have Patrick Baldwin, we have John Butler, we have Amani Bates, who's not in this draft, but I'm throwing him in there anyway. Who is the because we heard all season watching college basketball that all of these guys were somehow Kevin Durant's of college basketball. They were all Kevin Durant's. But which one is the one Kevin Durant amongst all the others?
It does the one have to go to be like Kevin Durant?
Good question, Tate.
Ooh, if you put it like that, look, I think Chet Holmgren right now is the betting favorite to go number 2. So it's got to be Chet Holmgren, right?
There we go.
He has
very
the
skinny.
length.
Yep.
He's very skinny. He has the Kevin Durant length, right? Whereas Jabari Smith's arms aren't crazy long. Both of them can shoot really well. Jabari's probably a little bit better of a shooter. I mean, look, John Butler making a case, 174 pounds and 7'1". Like,
it's a great case.
We talk about Kennedy Chandler being too skinny and too small to play point guard. Kennedy Chandler is like 2 pounds lighter than John Butler, despite being a foot shorter.
That's crazy. So obviously I think most people that are interested in this draft are interested at the very top. Like, it's one of those drafts where we don't know who's going to go number 1 per se. And my question to you, Sam, because I know you've talked about what the Magic are going to do at number 1 10 million times. And I think you've fully got all your hedges in place. I think you fully have talked about all the top 3 guys enough that no matter what happens, you're good. But I want to ask you this, because Paolo, I just find like the way we've been talking about these guys fascinating, because it felt like it was Chet and Jabari for the longest time. I think those are the top 2 on your big board. I heard you say it's 1A, 1B for you. And Paolo's like the 3rd guy. Not that he's, that much farther behind, but he's just like not probably going number 1. But then in the last couple of days, the odds of Paolo going to Orlando are moving very, very quickly, and there's a lot of smoke there. But then at the same time, we know how the draft works, Sam. There's a lot of smoke screens. There's a lot of fuckery, especially at the top. So how do we suss this out? Is like Paolo does he have a legitimate chance? Have the Magic already? In your mind, do you think they've already decided who they want, and they're just like now saying like, let's just like muddy the waters, and maybe we get someone to overpay for the top pick, and we'll take the 2nd or 3rd guy? How do you see all that?
I think that they're happy that the waters are muddy. I don't think that bothers them at all. Whether or not they've made a decision at this point, I think that as of this past weekend, or like late last week, they had not. But, teams Monday and Tuesday of draft week really tend to focus on finalizing their board. And then Wednesday and Thursday tends to be a little bit more about taking calls, seeing what's available, seeing, what players could move. And then on Thursday, potentially finalizing deals that come available. So I would imagine that at some point soon, Orlando will have a very clear option. who they're going to take. And, look, do I think that Paulo has a chance? I think it's a lot more split among NBA people that work for front offices than what the odds previously indicated. I think that it was like Jabari at one point was like minus 500, which was a crazy number given what I had kind of been told. And then Chet Holmgren, I think, is, something like 2-1 now, 3-1. Paulo was all the way up at 18-1 in some books,
wow.
12-1 in other books. And I think that it was just a value-based proposition for a number of bettors. Like, hey, this guy is legitimately a top 3 player in this class. There is a real split among people who have him as a number 1 overall pick candidate and the number 1 overall player in this draft. So I think that it's possible that there were quite a few bets placed early on just based on a value perspective. And then a lot of people kind of jumped on board after trying to ride the steam and ride the wave of the Paulo Banchero at number 1 value train. But I still have Jabari Smith as the favorite. I still have Chet Holmgren as the number 2 guy, and I still have Paulo at number 3.
And Sam, John Hammond, and John Hammond famously took Thon Maker number 10, right? And I think a lot of people look at that and they say, how is that even possible? And there's one word, and it's wingspan. And everyone that makes a draft guide, they love wingspan. So
yeah, when did that start? When did we start putting wingspan in the breakdowns?
It's number 2 attribute. You know what I mean? It's like scoring wingspan. Yeah.
But if you don't do it, like you're insane. Like if you push your draft guide, I'd be like, what?
Where's the wingspan?
I don't give a damn about their height and weight, Sam. What is their wingspan?
Hand size and wingspan. But
legit, yeah. Like I used to do a thing where in the green room when I worked at CBS when we did our live show there, I'd have people like ask me questions on wingspan, and like we didn't actually place bets at that point on whether or not I'd get them right, but I could often get them right within like a quarter to a half an inch of wingspan.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm as good at it anymore, but it's important for NBA front offices trying to project any sort of upside, and it's just hard to play in the NBA unless you have long arms because of the whole thing.
But John Hammond would be the best at that game. If anyone asked him a wingspan, he would tell you exactly their wingspan.
He's like a carny. He's like, I can guess your height.
This is what this man does. So how crazy? That's why when I think of this draft and I think of Chet Holmgren, I can't imagine you use in your draft guide. He is unique, and like we hear unique a lot, but he is uniquely.
Is he officially
unique.
A unicorn, Sam? Would you say
a unicorn?
Well, there are like 45 unicorns in the NBA.
Exactly.
Now, so,
he's one of 45.
Yeah,
where is he? Is he tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 for you unicorns? I'm kidding. Shut up.
Yeah, I'd say a tier 2A unicorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. So above Porzingis, that sounds
if we're talking about the Greenberg tiers, I would say he's like a tier 2A unicorn, team in college basketball in the Big 12.
There we go.
Perfect. Done. How can he not go number 1 though? That's really like the roundabout way of asking it, because as Titus said, there's a lot of smoke screens. I heard he had a great workout for them. And at the end of the day, you have tendencies. And if your tendency is to like wingspan, how can you not take Chet Holmgren number 1? That's how I feel. And you have him number 1 on your big board.
Yeah. If it was me personally, I would take Chet, if only because I would be terrified of passing on Chet.
Yes.
Anyone you talk to about Chet Holmgren, it's just like this guy is elite of the elite in terms of character. He is elite of the elite in terms of work ethic, professionalism. He's a competitor. Like you guys watched him all year. He's 190 pounds. That dude doesn't back down from anybody. He's actually a pretty effective post defender, despite the fact that he's as skinny as he is. Just because A, he's so long, and B, like he just fights and battles and claws, and you really worry on some level about like, okay, are NBA officials gonna treat him, well early on? I think as he gets and gains core strength, he's going to be a really, really effective defender. He has some of the best defensive anticipation for what opposing players are going to do, just coming from the help side that I've ever seen. Look, if I was Orlando, I would take the plunge and take Chet. I understand that they need a legit scorer. It feels like they need another guy who isn't just like a piece of being a great team. They have Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs on some level didn't quite work out as well as I think they hoped in his rookie season. So if you're looking at Jabari Smith versus Chet Holmgren, you look at Jabari Smith, and I think that you see a guy that can potentially be your primary scorer. I don't know that I'm quite there with Jabari Smith, unfortunately. And because of that, I actually like him more as like a number 2 option. I like Chet and Jabari more as number 2 offensive options. And, in Chet's case, like one of the best defenders in the NBA, I think. And then I like, Paulo, maybe Paulo has the best chance to be a number 1 option in the NBA, but I don't know if he can be the number 1 option on a title team. Yeah. So I think that Jabari and Chet are maybe just a little bit more scalable to winning situations, whereas Paulo, he's going to be a great player. I think he's probably going to be an all-star at some point. I'm not entirely sure if he scales as well as we move up the ladder to being like a number 2 option on a great team as Jabari and Chet.
Yeah, he's got to be the guy. Like to me, the case for Paolo going number 1 is like old school thinking of he just looks like a number 1 guy, and he's the guy.
He thinks he's a number 1 pick, and that's a big part of being number 1, being able to shoulder that burden of being number 1. It's kind of why Cade got the argument last year over Jalen Green.
And Chet is kind of like the new wave of thinking about basketball, which is like if this draft was like 2003, Chet might not go top 10. Chet might not, because you just don't think but you take the guy in Paolo who has the ball in his hands at all times, making all these plays. You run his highlight reel over and over of him with his spin move and dunking on people at Duke. But it's 2022. I've talked myself into Chet too. I'm glad we're all 3 in agreement. I think Chet. I think everyone talks about his floor and that Paolo's got this high floor because we've seen how good of a scorer he is and he can create so much offense and everything. I think Chet defensively he's going to be worst case scenario. Chet Holmgren's going to be one of the best defenders in the NBA. Worst case scenario, and that's and he doesn't give you a ton offensively. He's averaging 12 points a game, and he's the best defender in the NBA, and that's the worst case scenario of Chet Holmgren.
He could be getting you triple doubles with blocks.
For God's sakes, Marcus Smart won the Defensive Player of the Year. Is Chet Holmgren better than Marcus Smart defensively today? Right this second? Right this second. I think he might be. I'm not even kidding. Oh
my God. Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say on the case that you made a minute ago about, Paulo looks like a number 1 overall pick, right? You guys have seen Paulo in person. He is enormous. Chet is tall. Paulo is just huge. And then you watch him play basketball at that size. He looks like a number 1 overall pick. Everything that dude does in terms of the way that he moves, his footwork, his fluidity. He's 6'10", 245 pounds, something like that. He looks like an NBA player already. He has incredible polish. The people that watch him in a workout setting, they're just look, it's hard to look past this guy on some level, right? He is just so big and so skilled and so fluid. It's easy to envision him as just being the guy that looks like the number 1 overall pick. For me, I have Chet just a little bit higher because I love the way his defense, I think, is going to translate to the NBA. I totally agree with you. I think that the worst case scenario is this guy is one of the best defensive players in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's where you want to be. And Sam, it does feel like everyone in the draft community, they have decided, I mean, as it kind of is the 3-man race for the number 1 pick. But I think I have 2 guys that if you, like you said, you look at and you're enamored by and you're like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. Jaden Ivey is one of those guys where if I had the number 1 pick, I'm intrigued by him. And talk about getting downhill.
Talk
about a guy.
Number 6 pick.
Well, we'll get to the number 6 pick, but Ivy's a guy that I would throw in that conversation that I'm I got to really think about him. And then the youngest player that's probably going to get drafted, Jaden Durant. When I look at the frame of this guy, and we talk about ceilings. Everyone talks about ceilings. He blows my mind.
Jalen Durant's top 5 in your big board?
He's top 5 on my big board.
Wow.
And I wanted to ask Sam how crazy that is.
Wow. Hold on here.
Those are my 5 guys that I'm bring all those 5 in. We'll work them out. And I think Ivy and Durant are the 2 guys I come away with.
Call them out, Sam. Call them out.
Those are the 2 guys I come away with.
This is Tate. This
I
is
don't know.
Tate playing chess as opposed to checkers because
We'll see
he
Jalen
wants to
Durant.
be ahead of the game. He wants to be ahead of the game for when Charlotte takes Jalen Durant at number 13.
Don't trade him.
And wants to
Don't
be.
trade him.
I had him at number 5 from the jump.
Don't
This is
trade
it.
him.
Yeah, right.
Great to get a top 5 talent at 13.
Yeah, we see where this is going, Tate. We know. But no, I really agree with Jaden Ivey. I have him in my top tier along with those guys. I have him just like a little bit below Paulo at the end of the day at number 3. But I think he's more in their group than he is in the group below with Keegan Murray and Jalen Durant and all of those guys. His athleticism is insane. Like, there are moments where this dude just decides, oh yeah, like, you're in good defensive position at the point of attack. I'm just going to run around you now. Like, it's fine. I'm just going to like literally just decide, oh no, it's time. Like, I'm just going to get into the paint. There's nothing you can do about it for sure. If you get him more into open spaces within the NBA, I think that he is genuinely going to really explode out in transition in a really tangible way, I think.
I said all year I felt like Jaden Ivey was overrated as a college player and underrated as an NBA prospect because just the system and the guys he was playing alongside at Purdue weren't exactly it's not a system that's going to give you a great idea of what he's going to be at the NBA level, other than those moments where, like you said, he just like takes a defender head on, full head of steam, and finishes at the rim and just displays how athletic he is. But having Zach Edey clogging up the paint at all times is not exactly conducive to getting the best out of Jaden Ivey. So I'm going to say it. I'm just going to get excited. I'm in the moment and I'm feeling it. I think Jaden Ivey's the best player in the draft. You can't take him number 1 because like you got to not get fired if you're a GM. But I think Jaden Ivey's going to be the best player. I just want that on record.
So
I'm the most excited about him.
I just want to be clear. We're on person number 2 that Titus has said, he's my guy in this class at number 1.
Yes.
I want to see how many guys we can get to here.
Let's keep it going. We got plenty of time.
To 4 or 5.
I think Jabari is number 1 as well. Sam, I'm like a college basketball recruiting service. I got a lot of number 1 guys, all right, as it turns out.
Depends on the day.
Depends on what day. It depends on
and who's asking me.
Yeah. It depends on whose agent I talked to before we started recording.
It's a Nike or Under Armour call.
No, I'm Galaxy braining it too, Sam, because I so badly want the Pacers to just do whatever it takes to get Jaden Ivey because he's an Indiana kid. He's not an Indianapolis kid. He's from South Bend and went to West Lafayette for school. But what's the difference? I want the Pacers to do whatever it takes to take Jaden Ivey. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about like some of the inflection points in this draft as we're trying to like figure out what's going to transpire on Thursday. So number 1, we talked about already. That's going to be interesting. It's not set in stone yet, but it does feel like the race for number 1, if it's Jabari versus Paolo, it feels like number 2, if Chet Holmgren's available, it's going to be like an Aiden Hutchinson situation at the NFL draft where Oklahoma City like is on the clock for 3 seconds and they take Chet. Is that correct?
Look, if the betting markets end up being, on the money here with Paulo in some way that, reporters and others haven't been clued into yet, it would be Jabari versus Chet at number 2. I think that would be a real conversation for Oklahoma City, and I can absolutely see a world where Jabari Smith goes number 2.
If Paolo goes 1, Jabari could then go
be the next Kevin Durant.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
Could then be the next Kevin Durant. That's right.
It's
always the guy who goes number 2. And then at number 3, you would have Houston, and Houston just moved Christian Wood. I think they're probably just going to take the big that falls,
right?
Almost regardless here. There was some smoke that they liked Jaden Ivey early in the process and had this idea of creating like the most athletic backcourt in the NBA between him and Jalen Green. But I'm a little bit skeptical on that. I think that, you move Christian Wood in order to like foster this incredible front court and find minutes for everyone once you draft this guy at number 3, regardless of who it is. So I think that is probably the way this goes down. And then, the main inflection point here is number 4.
Yeah.
I can't get anyone who says like what the Kings are actually going to do. I do think if they stay, they are a real threat to take Keegan Murray at the end of the day.
Yeah, they love Keegan Murray, right?
Keegan Murray
It makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah. Like Keegan Murray, I guess, according to Chris Haynes, had dinner with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. That doesn't happen all that often where like a team is just like, hey, go out with our 2 best players for dinner. It's almost like a recruiting visit, right? Like, you have a guy go out on campus, like to a party with like the 2 best players on the team. And that's how you get them to commit to your school.
Yep.
Like, that's a little bit abnormal for the NBA. But the Kings have had trouble getting guys in to come and work out for them. Come and visit with
what
them.
is that? Because I saw Jaden Ivey, who the way people talk about this draft is that those are you have your big 3, and then at number 4, most people seem to agree that Jaden Ivey is the 4th best player in this draft. So you would assume the Kings are going to take Jaden Ivey, but he straight up said, I've not talked to them, I've not worked out for them, I do not have their number, they don't have mine.
Yeah.
Is that if we're reading those tea leaves? Is that Sacramento's not interested in Jaden Ivey because they're locked in on Keegan Murray, or is it that Jaden Ivey and his camp are saying, please, for the love of God, let's just not answer the call when it comes in for Sacramento, because let's try to stay as far away from this place
Kobe
as
action. He's like, we will not play here.
I think it's more the latter probably than the former, because this team has Davion Mitchell and De'Aaron Fox already. They also traded Tyrese Halliburton. In general, the Kings are seen by agents as an organization that is not the most stable in the world. And when you're trying to decide, if you're trying to like, get your client to a different situation, or you're trying to get your client to the most advantageous situation, it feels like the Kings are rarely the one that agencies want their client to go to, because you never know what the situation is going to look like 2 years down the line. Like Tyrese Halliburton did everything right from a prospect perspective. He was like the 3rd best player in that draft, and they traded him within a year and a half. So I think that, it's complicated when trying to figure out, what guys are interested in playing for the Kings. And at the end of the day, I think they'll just take whoever they want to take, whether or not they came in and worked out for them or not.
That's a shame.
And they might trade him. I mean, it might want to be one of those things where they're like, we like Murray, but we might take Ivy just to trade him.
You take Shaden Sharp. That's the move for the Kings. That just feels right to me as a neutral observer. Just send Shaden Sharp to the Kings.
Or Dyson Daniels. Yeah, one or the other.
Don't put my Australian.
If you play on the Ignite team, you have to go to the
Sacramento.
Kings.
I was talking to Tate. If you want to hear Sam talk about all his Aussies, go listen to him on Rosillo. They went through all the Aussies, and that's not what we're doing on this program. I was telling Tate off air, we need NBA needs a supplemental draft where all the G League Ignite types can go. They can go get drafted in that draft. That's what the G League Ignite should. Quit clogging up my draft. Quit clogging up my big boards with G League Ignite guys. That's what I'm saying. That's my plea to the draft industry.
And next year we're getting overtime elite guys with the Thompson twins that are going to get packed.
Disgusting.
Or going to get picked. Jay-Z on Gortman, I think has a chance to be. We're going to have all Victor Wembanyama next year, internationals. I don't know, man.
I like the internationals. No shade to the internationals.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because the international, like when I think about the current crop of superstars in the NBA, the only likable guys are international players, and yet my dumb pea brain, when it comes time for the draft,
you're booing
like
them.
if the Pacers draft, like what's the Osman guy? Who's he? Usman
Jang, yeah.
Usman, yeah, if the Pacers draft that guy, I'm gonna throw my remote at them. I'm gonna be like, who the hell is this guy? He didn't average.
Johnny Davis is right there.
He didn't average 20 in the Big Ten.
Yes.
He didn't have to deal with Matt Painter's defense every night.
Has he guarded Drew Timme in the low post? No, then get him out of my face. I don't need this guy on my team. Can I selfishly ask you about the Pacers for a second at number 6? Is there any hope whatsoever that they get Jay? Is there any hope that they do something right here? Like I want Jaden Ivey. I don't know. Like I guess that's the question: is how badly does everyone else want Jaden Ivey? Because is there a world where the Pacers could trade with the Kings? Is there a world where I saw the Knicks are interested in Ivey? It just all makes too much sense to me that Jaden Ivey belongs in an Indiana Pacers uniform. I know it's not going to happen, but just humor me for a second, Sam. Like, is there any world where the Pacers can find a way to say Jaden Ivey's name on draft night?
Malcolm Brogdon.
Oh, if I was them, I'd be trying to go up to 4 as much as I could. Like, I think it's a perfect fit. I'm absolutely with you. I would absolutely adore watching a Tyrese Halliburton, Jaden Ivey backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is like almost a dream outcome to me. That or watching a Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey backcourt.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I want.
I'm completely with you. Like, I would hope that the Pacers are able to swing something. And for what it's worth, I will tell you, like, you talk to anyone in the league right now, agency people who work for teams, they say the Pacers are among the most active teams in the league.
Yes.
With the most kind of balls in the air.
Like, see those balls, baby.
Things like they could move the vets, they could move the picks. That I think they want to, maybe try and move up from 31 into the first round to try and get an additional year of team control.
Let's go
on that first round pick as opposed to number 31 with the second rounder. So there are a number of things going on, I think, with the Pacers. Whether or not they're able to get anything done, we'll see. I think that the price is very high for Sacramento, but I would expect we see the Pacers at least do something on draft.
That's all I needed. I just needed to know that they're anteing up, that they're stepping to the plate here. I just don't. In my head, when I saw on lottery night when the Pacers got the 6th pick, I was like, they are 100% just going to take whoever they think the 6th best player is, that just falls to them, and then they're going to shrug their shoulders when it doesn't work out and be like, we tried, we couldn't. And I just want for once in my life, I want them to put their balls on the table and go for it, and that has me excited. So
Brogdon and Shaedon Sharpe for the 4th pick, Jaden Ivey. There you go.
All right,
sitting him back with Sabonis.
Whatever
team
it
him
takes.
Up. Yeah, make it happen. We need it. You need it. We all need it. Sam, can I ask you about big name guys that are falling? You know what I mean? A guy like Ty Washington. I feel like obviously a lot of people thought that he might be a lottery guy, but then they started crunching the numbers. There's some body fat percentages that came out that weren't so favorable. Walker Kessler's another guy that fell or is falling a lot in at least the mocks that I've seen. So are there any Agbaji is out of the lotteries, 15. Some places they have him in early 20s. So is there any guys to you that you're like, yeah, flag this guy, he's falling quickly?
Yeah, with Ty, it's interesting. I can't really find the team that I trust is going to take him on draft night, I guess is what I would say. I'm a fan. Like, I have him as a lottery grade. I have him as someone that I am a big fan of as a contributor to winning teams because of his ability to pass, his ability to shoot. He shot 57% on floaters. He shot 59% between 8 and 16 feet this year. But I think teams have some questions about the athleticism. And then with Ochai, it feels like teams are just kind of like, okay, if he can't dribble and he doesn't make passing reads, is he just kind of a 7th man? And where do we just take like a 7th man wing? I have Ochai as a top 20 guy. I think he probably goes somewhere in the top 20, but I don't know if he's a lottery guy necessarily.
That one hurts.
That hurts college basketball.
Bad for college basketball.
That's bad PR. We need him to go 14th. We need him to go lottery.
I don't like that at all. That's really, really not great for college basketball. Is Shaedon Sharpe, is that good for college basketball? Like if Shaedon Sharpe, like if Sharpe ends up being a star, Cal's gonna claim him for sure and be like,
that'll be the interesting part. That's the most fascinating part of it all.
But,
yeah, how does Cal claim Shaedon Sharpe? Is he a non-Kentucky guy or is he a Kentucky guy? Depending on how this whole thing goes down on Thursday.
Oh my God! One guy I want to ask you about stock falling, but what about stocks rising? The other Jalen Williams, the guy who played at Santa Clara. Most people that follow college basketball know Jalen Williams at Arkansas. Who do the Celtics have a pick for that they could take Jalen Williams to Arkansas? Because I'm thinking like. You put his flopping next to Marcus Smart and Grant Williams.
Wow, that's a lot of Williams flopping.
That's a title team right there. They're winning the finals. But Jalen Williams of Santa Clara, who will probably, I assume, be the first Jalen Williams taken in this draft. I didn't watch every game, Sam. I only caught like 90% of his games this year. But I'm guessing most of our listeners We're not exactly locked in on Santa Clara basketball. Where did this guy come from? Why is his stock exploding? He's going to be the guy that everyone's like. College basketball fans watch the draft. You see he gets drafted in the first round. He's going to be the guy that everyone's scratching their head. All the college basketball fans, correct? Like,
especially when he goes 14th, as Sam has him projected, before Agbaji. So he's a lottery pick before Agbaji.
Is this good for college basketball?
College basketball.
Yeah, this is our Pac-12 update. I think today. The guy at Santa Clara for sure. So I think that the reason that he has risen so much. So first and foremost, he's a guy that committed to Santa Clara as like a 6'3" guard, basically, and he took some time to develop as he continued to grow into his frame. You know, he's now 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan, and uses his frame and uses his ability to create shots off the bounce exceedingly well. He is a really great ball handler. He's a really terrific shooter off the catch. He's just kind of a more versatile dribble pass shoot piece than what someone like Ochai Agbaji is. Now, Ochai is a much better athlete than Jalen Williams. I actually have these two right next to each other on my board, and it feels like it's going in opposite directions. I completely agree with you where teams are excited about taking Jalen Williams. I don't know if they're that excited about taking Ochai Agbaji at the end of the day, which is kind of a strange, college basketball thing where we literally just watch
culture war, Sam.
It's a culture war. Yeah. Like, we watched Ochai Agbaji ball out in the Final Four, and Jalen Williams was out here. What postseason tournament did Santa Clara play in? Like the CBI or like some weird basketball tournament. So it is a bit bizarre. But look, I will tell you, like, Jalen Williams, has been out in Santa Barbara working out with a ton of other NBA prospects, and the consistent word I've gotten is like he's been the best guy out there. Almost every day. He is completely really shown up in a significant way. So I think more than anything, he's a physical late bloomer that grew from 6'3" to 6'6", grew into his frame. And I think the best basketball is ahead of him.
Well, there you go.
I mean, congratulations. That's a big win for Santa Clara.
Here's a win for college basketball. Stock's rising. The two Arizona guys, there's three that are noteworthy, but I'm assuming Koloko is going to be second round, early second round, something like that. But Dalen Terry, when he declared for the draft, I didn't think it was crazy. I love Dalen Terry. I absolutely adored watching Dalen Terry play basketball this year. It never crossed my mind that he was a guy that NBA teams were foaming at the mouth for. So when he declared for the draft, I was like, well, that's good. He's going to test the waters. He'll come back. He'll be the best player on Arizona next year, and that'll be fun to watch what Arizona can be next year with him being the best guy. He stays in the draft, and I was like, okay, well, maybe he's just a guy that just wants to start his NBA career. He'll go in the second round. He'll be happy, and that'll be that. And now I look up and like Dalen Terry knocking on the door of lottery for some people. He's like very obviously first round for some people. His stock just like every time I hit refresh on a mock draft, whether it's yours or someone else's, it's like Dalen Terry is going through the roof. Meanwhile, Mathurin, his teammate at Arizona, he was highly thought of before all this process started. You have him what, 5th on your big board?
Yeah.
He is another guy that like I
Pacers.
I remember when I was saying I wanted the Pacers to take him at 6, it felt like a little bit of a reach like a month ago whenever the lottery happened. And now it's like, yeah, no shit, dude. If he's available, take him at 6th. What is it about those two guys that stand out to you as to why they continue to have their stocks rise?
Yeah, so first and foremost, just from a college basketball perspective, I thought Arizona was the best team for the largest portion of last season. They were the team that I most enjoyed watching, and I thought that they had the best talent across college basketball between Mathurin, Dalen Terry, Tubelis, Christian Koloko, Kirk Risa, a number of their guys on the bench, obviously, Ballo, Adama Ball, etc. Right? So, like, I've always been a really big fan of Dalen Terry, and I always thought of him as a potential 2023 first round pick. We're in 2022 still, and I think that at the end of the day, what teams are just thinking about here with Dalen Terry is, well, we probably would have had him rated as a 2023 first round pick. He probably would have come back, averaged 14 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds a game or something, and just completely balled out. He had like a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. And as you guys know, it's not like Dalen Terry was playing low risk basketball. I mean, the guy is a very energetic guy who is throwing some pretty aggressive passes and making aggressive plays. I just look at the way that he is capable of affecting the game with his energy, his defensive intensity, his disruptiveness. He's 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. He just has a lot of the tools that NBA teams are looking for. He fights through screens. He's good in switch coverages defensively. He's good in drop coverages defensively. There are just a number of different ways you can envision Dalen Terry working. It just all comes down to the shot. And most NBA teams think that as long as you have a baseline level of touch, they can fix the jumper. So Dalen Terry already brings everything else to the table from that perspective. He just needs to work on the shot. And I thought that there was an interesting stat I saw come across Twitter from Mike Procopio a couple days ago, where like there are 510 players in the NBA and only 108 of them average at least 10 shots per game. So the other 400 players in the league are not going to be guys that are asked to primarily score the basketball.
That's a great point.
Dalen Terry does everything else in terms of not scoring the basketball, right? He's a great defender. He's a great passer. He's a great playmaker. He's terrific in transition. It's just that, you know, he's going to have to work on the shot. And I think the teams just believe that they can get the shot to a baseline level to where when he's open on kickouts, he can make one.
That's a great point, though. That's something that's so obvious, but you need to hear it going into a draft, because I think like every fan base wants their first round pick to be a guy that's going to average 15 points a game for him. That's just how it has to be. And then you start doing the math. You're like, that can't be.
It's kind of like in high school, like like you'd have like 3 or 4 guys on your team. They're like, I'm going league, and then your coach would eventually have a talk like 1% of the 1%. Like you guys aren't gonna, you know what I mean? It's that truth that needs to be heard sometimes. Where's Bradley Beal to yell at some kids about it?
The best college basketball example of it this year is with Wake Forest, with Alondas Williams versus Jake LaRavia, right? Alondas Williams won ACC Player of the Year this year, but I think is somewhat likely to go undrafted. Jake LaRavia was second team All ACC this year. Terrific shooter, really smart processor of the game, knows how to pass, knows how to play with teammates at a really high level, doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful and to space the floor and to make an impact on the game. And he's going to go somewhere in the first round.
Hell yeah, let's go.
I think that
Hoosier.
Yeah, look at
Hoosier,
Indiana.
baby.
Let's go. Yeah. So
they think he's from
I think
Latvia.
That's just like a really Jake Laravovich.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Who are the international guys? Like, just very quickly. I know. We don't really care, but like, we just have to.
I was gonna say, do you care about this?
We don't. Just like give people some names so when we see them, we know. One thing that stood out to me was there's a guy named Nikola Jovic.
Yeah, my God.
Who is not Jokic. It's not Nikola Jokic. And I just feel like that guy's definitely doomed to fail. Like, there's no way. Like, if there's a guy named LeBron Jones that was coming out of a draft, like, you can't. There's no way there's going to be 2 guys that are great that have the exact same name, basically. That just can't happen.
Here's the crazy thing. So, Nikola Jovic, he plays for the same pre-draft team that Nikola Jokic did, represented by the same agent. Nikola Jokic.
I hate this.
And is 1 letter off in terms of name. Jovic is fine. He is a 6'11" guy who can handle the ball. He can make high-level passing reads. He's like a point forward. He can shoot. I have no idea who he defends at the next level.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy we're gonna like? Who's the international guy that like college basketball? Who's the? Because like I said, it's weird because we can all
Jake LaRavia. We just said it.
We can all acknowledge that the international players at the NBA level are more fun to root for than some of the American guys. But so give us a guy that we can get excited about that we think that we're gonna care about. Is it Dyson Daniels?
I think that there's an Italian kid named Matteo Spagnolo. He is probably going to go in the second round. He is one of the most fun, like, highlight players to watch.
Okay.
He is an incredible, like, ball handler. He's a great pull-up scorer. He makes, like, ridiculous, unbelievable passing reads where he'll like throw it behind the back, and he's just like a really, really fun player to watch. So if he ends up being able to come over and like play in the NBA, I think he's likely to go somewhere in the second round. That might be the guy that like college basketball fans would like.
Okay.
I don't know if college basketball fans would be like a fan of Ousmane Dieng. I don't know if they'd be a huge fan of Jovic. Those guys, they don't feel like college basketball.
That's perfect. That's fine. Yeah, fuck them then. I need help making sense of some guys. So I make a list. I do this. I feel like I do this with you every year, Sam. I stare at some of these names on the big board. I talk myself in and out of them. So I'm gonna go through some of these guys that I just simply cannot make sense of. First of all, Max Christie. I like him only because everybody else does. But, like, honestly, if we weren't doing a public show and we were all just sitting around at my place, throwing back some beers, talking about it, I don't get it. I don't get Max Christie at all. Max Christie has never looked like an NBA, like he's going to be very good in the NBA at any point in time that I've watched him. He's a guard who can't shoot from what I've seen. He didn't really it wasn't like he averaged like 8 assists a game or anything. I think he averaged like less than 2 assists a game. He's not like setting people up. He wasn't awesome defensively. And I felt like, honestly, when I look back on this Michigan State season, the reason Michigan State wasn't as good as they hoped they would be was honestly not to point fingers, but Max Christie, it's your fault. Because like if Max Christie if he was as good as like Joshua Langford, say, I think the Michigan State team was national title good. I really think like they had a bunch of like role guys and they needed like Max Christie to actually be
the 5-star.
The 5-star first round guy. So after watching him this year, I was like, all right, well, he's obviously not going to be that. And then he's now still being talked about like he's for sure going to be drafted in the first or early second. Why? What is it, Sam? Make it make sense.
So yeah. Sometimes teenagers just don't make shots, and evaluators just strongly believe that they will shoot eventually. And, Mark, you know shooting as well as anyone.
You,
like
Sam.
You are someone that was the whole appeal of your game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think that Max Christie is going to shoot? At some point, he's going to shoot, right? Everything looks perfect. It looks pristine.
It's
like,
true.
The balance is perfect. It has a high release point. Like, he can shoot off of movement. Like, you can run him off of like a baseline screen or a pin down screen. He's going to come off and like be wrong footed and rise up and like realign in midair and be able to like make shots still, right? So I kind of think that he's going to shoot it pretty soon. Sometimes I think that freshmen just might lose a little bit of confidence. Sometimes, they're going through the grind of a college basketball season for the first time, and that can be a little bit tough on their bodies. What I will say about Max Christie, you brought up the defense. I actually thought his defense was pretty good this year. Max Christie was seen in high school as like a guy that had a reputation of being soft and of not having like a lot of toughness. I thought he was actually pretty good this year on defense, just kind of proving, hey, I'm willing to take on tough assignments. Like he took on the toughest perimeter assignment often for Michigan State on the wing, at least. Tyson Walker took on a lot of the point of attack assignments, but like I thought Max did a pretty good job defensively. And if you can be a good defender that is 6'6" and you can shoot, that's kind of what the NBA is looking for, especially if you can move off the ball and kind of create your own shots by not needing the ball in your hands.
All right. Fine.
You don't buy any of that shit, do you?
Well, I mean, all I hear is like,
Fine.
he doesn't make shots, but we hope that he will.
He might one day.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Like he's got a good look at shot.
He's
like,
only 19.
That brings me to the second guy I wanted to ask you about, because I think Max Christie and this guy Trevor Keels had a competition this year for the best looking 31% 3-point shooting performance season of all time. Like Trevor Keels, boy, it depends on when you're watching him and what you're seeing out of him, because he's built like a brick house. He does have a good looking jumper, and he had games where wasn't there a game where he hit 5 threes or something and couldn't miss?
I mean, look at the Final Four game. I mean, he kept them in the game.
But then he disappears for long stretches. Part of it is like Duke's makeup, and like when you have as many loaded guys as they have, or their rosters is loaded, he can kind of get lost in the shuffle from time to time. But every time I watch Trevor Keels, I'm like, this man's just playing the wrong sport. But he does have a pure looking jump shot. I can't make sense of him. Sam. I want to like him,
I
but I
don't
don't
know.
know where to land.
Yeah, like I want to like him too because I like the idea of a tough defensive guard who can handle the ball a little bit. He had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio this year. Pretty good passer, makes pretty good decisions. I don't really love the shot, to be honest. I think it's just like really square. Like he needs to be set right before he takes it. He has to be like standing still almost. It feels like he can't really shoot it off of movement, just kind of because of how thick he is and how thick he is through his torso. And like his hips don't seem all that flexible to me when I watch him. And just with how quick the game goes in the NBA, it feels like that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for him. He's going to have to shoot it a little bit more off of movement, I think, in order to be effective. He has like, he just looks very boxy when I watch him.
That's true. I definitely like the part of the reason I think he has a good looking shot is because I convinced myself he's like 6'10" and like he just looks so big that you don't expect a guy built like that to be able to actually confidently rise up and take threes at the college level like he does. That just broke my brain the first time I saw Trevor Keels because I just thought he was going to put his head down and try to bowl through people, and he didn't do that. All right, so we're out on Trevor Keels. The other guy I wanted to ask you about was JD Davison from Alabama, who I forgot was even in this draft. And I remember in January when I was watching Bama, Bama was so up and down all season, and it was hilarious actually, like how they would beat really good teams and lose to really bad teams. But even in January, I remember like JD Davison felt like a top 20 guy, and he very, very explosive. Like he was very clearly the best pro prospect of all of Alabama's guards. Shackelford, Quinterly, and Davison, I think weren't exactly D. Brown and Darren Williams and Luther Head like we were hoping they might be, but they had those three guards, and JD Davison was obviously the best. He had the dunk on Walker Kessler. He showed flashes all season, and the way we were kind of talking about him at the college level was like, this guy's going to be an NBA player for sure. And then I completely forgot he was in the draft, to be honest with you, Sam. And until I looked at your draft guide today, I was like, I'll be goddamn, JD Davison, that guy, I forgot about him. So what's the deal? Why did he fall so far?
Yeah, it's hard because I've never really been a JD Davison guy. Like, I don't think I ever had him in the top 25 on my board. I've just kind of, he just doesn't, he's not my kind of guy, just in terms of the way he reads the game. Like, I don't think he makes quick decisions. He can't really make shots at all right now unless he has his feet set off the catch, which is a problem given the fact that he's like a 6'2" point guard and needs to be able to make pull-up jumpers. He's not a great processor. It feels like he doesn't really have great feel out of ball screens. He's basically just trying to like put his head down and get to the basket all the time. Doesn't have an in-between game, doesn't have like a pull-up three, doesn't make high-level passing reads. He's just kind of not for me, I guess. And I don't really think NBA teams that I've talked to see him as a first rounder either. Tricky one. I hope the best for him. It just doesn't feel like this is going to go super well for him.
This is the culture war, Tate. I'm being told that Max Christie's awesome and Trevor Keels and JD Davison, they have no hope.
Well, they were all 5 stars once upon a time, right? That's what matters.
Yeah.
I do find it fascinating, Sam, that in the NBA, we're watching the finals, right? And there's no true point guard on the court. And Steph Curry obviously is a point guard and gets people in the right positions. But I look at the mock draft, and the first real point guard, true point guard, I should say, that gets taken is Kennedy Chandler at 29, which makes me kind of work myself back. And I'm like, where does Chris Paul get taken, in modern times? I mean, Kennedy Chandler weighs 172. I think Chris Paul was like 175 coming out of Wake Forest. So, like, the position is so different of being a true point guard. You have to have someone that can score now. So it's like, if you are a Kennedy Chandler, a true point guard, Andrew Nimhard, your best bet right now, it feels like, is to go late first round, which I find that to be fascinating. Or am I just projecting on this draft?
No, there's definitely something to that with smaller guards. The NBA is not wildly interested right now in taking guys that are like 6'1" that can't really hold up defensively against these bigger wings, right?
Yeah.
Because so much of the NBA now is about, okay, we have Jason Tatum, we're going up against, let's think of the Brooklyn Nets, right? Goran Dragic, Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills. Let's just get Jason Tatum switched on to one of those guys and let him rock. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a great shot. He's going to make the shot. It's either going to be a pull-up three or it's going to be a pull-up mid-range jumper. That's at least a 50% pull-up mid-range jumper because those guys can't really impact his shot. So I think that that's the big thing right now is that NBA teams don't have a wild interest in smaller guards. And we have evidence of this last year with Sharif Cooper. Sharif Cooper averaged 21 points and 9 assists, and he went 48th in the draft. I think that Kennedy's game translates a little bit more to being a role player, but I do worry about what his game looks like in the NBA, and it wouldn't stun me if he fell to the second round.
You have a mock to Memphis, backing up John Moran. I like that.
I like that.
I feel like that's the perfect Tyus Jones replacement.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about Jeremy Sohan and Kendall Brown, the two Baylor guys that were sort of, to college basketball fans, they felt like similar guys. They felt like these two guys that showed up at Baylor on a national title team, and they're 6'8", 6'9". They were good defensively, obviously. Sohan's obviously much better defensively. But they sort of felt like they played similar roles, similar stats. Kendall Brown shot it a little bit better. I'm certainly not making this argument. I'm just putting the ball on a tee for you, Sam, to explain why Jeremy Sohan is so much higher rated in this draft than his teammate Kendall Brown, when a lot of people that were watching college all year probably would have, if you asked the average college basketball fan, they would have probably told you they're about some. It's like they're pretty interchangeable on that Baylor team. Why do you see it so differently, and why do the NBA people see it so differently?
Yeah, so I think that by the end of the year, what we saw was that Baylor was much more effective with Jeremy Sohan on the court than with Kendall Brown on the court. And, as Tate will know better than anyone, that North Carolina game where Baylor almost had that crazy comeback where they were down, what was it, Tate, 24,
27
points, something
27.
like that?
Leaky back 27. Black pass. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Off the backboard.
Titus' favorite play of the year.
Never forget the pass.
But yeah, I think that, that game obviously happened with Kendall Brown on the bench and Jeremy Sohan guarding, Caleb Love and RJ Davis, and then switching down onto Armando Bacot and dealing with him on the block, right? I think that Sohan is arguably the most switchable defender in this NBA draft class, which is one of the most important skills moving forward when you're looking at translation toward the NBA. So that's the difference. Number one, I actually buy Sohan's jumper a little bit more than I buy Kendall Brown's. I think Kendall, it just seems like he's kind of flinging it toward the rim and doesn't have a lot of confidence in it. I think I think Sohan handles the ball a little bit better in the open court as well. I think Kendall Brown's handle is a little bit loose with it. And I'll tell you this, in Big 12 play this season, I think that Baylor was something like 20 points worse when Kendall Brown was on the court than when he was on the bench, which is a crazy number. No one else on their team was outside of 7 points positively or negatively. And Kendall Brown was a way big outlier in terms of what his impact was when he was out there. I think teams just kind of stopped guarding him, and he started turning the ball over a little bit, and he wasn't quite as impactful defensively as what his tools are.
In summation, Sohan has the dog in him.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I think Sohan has that dog in him.
Yeah, wait.
He's one of the
Who's the guy who has that dog in him in this class? We got to know.
Ooh, who's the most? I think Paolo wants it to be him. It's not.
It's not Paolo. I think it's Mathurin. I think it's Benedict Mathurin. I think he has the most dog in him.
One.
Matherin's a great answer, but I felt like every time I watched Arizona, though, Terry was doing the dirty work. Terry felt more like the dirty work.
You can only have one dog.
So what is? I need a better definition on what it means to be the dog, I guess. Jalen Duren?
He's got
the dog. He's got that dog. Yeah.
My biggest fear, Sam, is that the Hornets take Jalen Duren and Ochai Agbaji. I get really excited, and then they trade both of them for Miles Turner. and that breaks my heart. You know what I mean? That would be the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
If that would happen. No. I'm not actually hearing that.
All right,
I would
good,
be surprised
please.
if that would happen.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, no, like I think that they're just going to take a big, and they'll figure out what to do with that second pick after.
Okay.
I think it's possible they don't make both of these picks, but we'll see what's going to happen there.
Oof.
Eason, he's got the dog in him.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about Christian Brown?
What-
That's a sneaky dog in him.
Christian Brown is a Pacers pick with a lot of dog.
I know.
Sam, you have Max Christie there at 31.
Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me, Sam?
Despite Titus.
Max Christie to the Pacers.
I might keep that through the draft.
You
just
should.
to fuck with
You
Titus.
should. You
That
should
might be
just.
it.
Oh my God! When the Pacers take Max Christie, I'm going to take back everything I said. I'm going to be like, lead us to the promised land, Max, with those shots that don't go in. But
Okay, wait. Another question. Another important question here. Who is him in this class?
Ooh.
Who is him?
There's a lot of people that think they're him in this draft. I think Jaden Ivey's him.
Jaden Ivey. Yeah.
That's a good
I think it's Jaden Ivey. I think that, okay, well, that explains it. Benedict Mathurin, I think, is the him of Arizona, and Dalen Terry has that dog.
Is the
him.
dog, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
there we go. Yeah.
That's the difference there. Jaden Ivey's.
Can I also just note sneaky guy who might be him? Jabari Smith. Can we just remember that Jabari Smith is the guy that got a technical foul for cursing out Jim Boeheim for putting someone who absolutely can't guard him on him in the middle of their game against Syracuse?
That's a great point. Jabari was pretty, from my perspective, when I would watch him for most of the season, he was pretty even keeled, and I never really felt like he was talking that much shit. But then when he did it against Syracuse, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Yeah, his demeanor was never. I never really felt like he had the him in him, but he.
I think if he goes number one, he becomes him. I think he takes it. I think he takes it on the chin.
What else? What else do we got for him?
One last thing for me, Sam. We had a lot of guys, one of our friends of the program, Peyton Watson, for example, that sat out of the scrimmages and sat out some of the combine stuff, and Caleb Houston was another guy. And a lot of people said then that they were guaranteed first-round picks. That's why they were sitting out. Now, I'm looking at your board. They are not in the first round. So who is lying to me? And where do you see those guys falling? Are they more two-way type of guys, or are they going to get drafted?
Yeah, I think they get picked. I have Peyton a little bit higher than Caleb. I think Peyton's ability to make plays on the ball as a passer and as a potential shooter, when you look at his ability in the mid-range, appeals to me a little bit more than Caleb, even though I think Caleb can really shoot it off of movement. I didn't really like anything else that Caleb did on tape this year, unfortunately. I tend to think that promises in general around combine time are much more unlikely than what they are given
perceived
publicity
to be.
for being. Yeah. I think that it's possible that some guys get promises right after the combine and they're making draft decisions and you have to convince a guy to stay in. But before the combine, I mean, the only other example I can think of is Matisse Thybulle to the 76ers. That seemed pretty clear that was a promise kind of deal. I think another one oddly is Chandler Hutchison. I think he might have pulled out of the combine because they felt pretty good that the Bulls would take him in that class, and that worked out for everyone. So I just
you don't want to be one of those guys.
Teams are much more. Yeah, I think the teams are much more hesitant to hand out promises and then kneecap their flexibility moving forward through the pre-draft process than people think.
My last, well, no, it probably is not, but whatever. We haven't even talked about the Buckeyes, Sam. First of all, you play your alma mater too close to the vest for my liking. That not enough people are aware that you're a Buckeye. Now we have a situation, Sam, where two Buckeyes are going to be first-round picks. I feel like I'm calling you out. Like, I feel like you need to be bumping these guys up like 5 spots higher than they should be. And I think, like, first of all, this was your fault that Malachi is in the draft in the first place because you had him on your big board, way
Early.
too soon. Yeah, you had him early. That was not that's not good Buckeye behavior from you. You should have
It was bad.
sabotaged.
Yeah.
And then now that he's in the draft, we got to push him to the moon. Like, are Malachi Branham and EJ Liddell guys you like? Are they guys the league likes? Is it safe for me as a Buckeye to get excited about the idea of these two guys being in the NBA for a very long time?
Yeah, let's start with EJ because I've come around on EJ more than where I was early. I know a lot of people had him like in the late lottery to like midway through the season. I'd never really gotten that. I'd gotten more 20 to 40 range throughout the season. And it seems like that's where people have settled. Probably a little bit more toward the top half of that range. I think I would be surprised at this point if he didn't go in the first round. Malachi, I think I'm probably lower than anyone else in the public on him.
What?
I was the first one.
Cut this part,
I was
Jim.
the one to identify him.
Jim, cut all this out.
Cut it out.
This dude loves Max Christie and hates Malachi Branham. Why do we have him on the
Let
show,
me be
Jim?
clear.
Who booked this man?
Let me be clear. I have Malachi ahead of Max Christie, but I think marginally compared to everyone else who does my job in the public sphere, I'm probably a little bit lower on Malachi. You watched Ohio State as much as I did, Mark.
I did.
There were a bunch of times where they had to like play offense defense for him late in games because he didn't know what he was doing out there on defense.
Dude. Shut up.
Well, here's the thing.
point.
He's a killer pull-up scorer.
Yeah.
Absolutely killer pull-up scorer. He's really skinny right now, but he's tough. Like, he really tries to drive and play through contact and be physical. He's a real chance to be a 3-level scorer in a way that a lot of guys don't really have.
I'm scared he doesn't have that dog in him.
No, he's very, very smooth. He's got I'm going to challenge that too, Sam. He's got the dog in him.
Yeah.
You think so?
I think he's got the dog in him.
All
I
right.
just think he's so good. He's so gifted, naturally gifted offensively that I think he's how come like every freshman sucks at defense and that's not a problem, Sam? But now all of a sudden it's a problem that Malachi Branham wasn't great defensively? No. Shut up.
I would like him to at least be able to stay on the court defensively, I think is where I'm at. Like, I'm okay if he's not very good at it. I just would like the level to be commensurate with staying on the court so that you can be like a 17 point per game scorer.
How many timeouts do NBA teams get? We're at the end. Can't we just like do offense, defense, Malachi Branham scores, call timeout, sub him out, bring him back in.
Jalen Terry comes in for
Just
it.
keep calling timeout and sub him out. What else you got, Tate? Is that it? Can we let this man go?
Yeah,
go
we
get
can
some
let him
sleep.
go. Yeah.
How
Honestly,
good
there was
is
so much draft stuff. I'm just like, I was telling Ted, I feel like we crammed and there's a million questions. We could talk to you for like 14
I know, we
days.
really could. Way too early 2023 draft. Wembanyama, how good is he? Is he really that good?
Yeah, look, I was like a little bit skeptical early on because I tend not to be someone that loves these like 7'3" super giant guys. I just worry about them breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good.
He's really good.
he's special. He is something that is entirely different than anything that is in this class, for instance. He's like creating step back pull up jumpers as a 7'3", 235 pound guy at 18 years old playing in Euro League. And you're just like, what am I watching right now? It's like watching Rudy Gobert if he had like a step back pull up.
Oh my
It's
God.
like, wait, how does this exist?
Should I text Holtman and tell him to recruit him?
Mm-hmm.
Get on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Should I-
Fly over there.
Get over there.
Give him the big offer.
Yeah.
Have you
Well,
been to
yeah,
Columbus, kid?
this-
If Wembanyama is so good, why is he not proving it in the Big Ten? I guess that's my only question. I guess is he scared?
He's scared.
Yeah,
Is he
like-
scared? Is that what it is?
Has he ever flown to West Lafayette
Yeah.
and had to play at Mackey? No.
Front of the paint crew.
Yeah.
Oh, where do you have Barron Trump on
Can't
your
take
big
him.
board? In a few drafts.
Ooh. Yeah,
He's number one on Jim's
great-
big board.
definitely has the genes for height. Trump's a pretty
Wingspan.
big guy. So, I worry about hand size, obviously. Not like Tari Eason size hands. Yeah, I have a little bit of concerns there, but yeah, big time on the board for sure.
Jim, you had something before you let Sam go.
Oh yeah. Is it true that you're the best mock drafter because you live in Australia and with the time change, the NBA draft already happened?
Ooh.
Has the NBA draft already happened in Australia?
Yeah, you're in the future, right, Sam?
Yeah, I am in the future. That's how this works. Like the funny thing is my computer is actually set to Pacific time right now where you guys are. So it's Tuesday, 4:41 on my computer. So I actually don't know what time it is in Australia right now. I just know it's Wednesday.
That's
It's just a different day. I have no idea what time. Just a different day.
And then
It's just Wednesday of some sort.
Also, Sam, do you know some of the greatest novels that had less words than your NBA draft preview? Do you want to hear some?
Someone tweeted this at me. Yeah, please go ahead.
The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
The first two Harry Potters. Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
Catcher in the Rye.
1984 by George Orwell.
Salinger just wasn't trying hard.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Salinger
thing.
wasn't trying
Yeah, he
hard.
mailed it in. Catcher in the Rye. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Lord of the Flies. War of the Worlds.
My God.
Separate piece. Mark Twain's Adventures
I don't
of
even
Tom
know what that one
Sawyer.
is.
Oh,
What's
wow.
word?
The Scarlet Letter. Stephen King's Carrie. Brave New World. And lastly, Anne Frank's Diary.
Oh my God.
You wrote more words than all of those books.
How many of those books have you guys read?
I read the Harry Potters. Which house?
There we go.
Let's go. Okay,
Oh,
so for the
man.
second half of this podcast, let's go through each prospect.
yeah.
Say which house, which Harry Potter house.
I'm locking in.
Jeremy Sohan, Slytherin.
Sam, go get some sleep. Go get a beer. Go do both at the same time. You've earned it. That's your watch has ended. we're
Sleep
done with
until
it.
Friday.
Yeah. We appreciate it, man. We know you're busy. We appreciate it. If you listen, those of you listening to the show, please, for the love of God, go help Sam out. He's the absolute best in the business. He kills it every single year. That's why we have him on. That's why we just basically made him the entire show because can you imagine us two slapdicks talking about this stuff without having Sam here to help us? Go check out The Athletic. Go check out Game Theory Podcast. Please do it. We love you, Sam. Thanks,
Thanks,
for joining,
Sam.
Yeah, of course, guys. Anytime.
All right, thanks again to Sam Vecenie for spending some time with us. Really means a lot. We love having him on. Before we get to shoutouts, closeouts today, we promised people MJ versus LeBron debate. How do you see it?
MJ.
Same. All right, shoutouts, closeouts. What do you got?
I wanted to shout out Johnny Basketball, aka Johnny Davis, because we just did an entire draft breakdown.
Yeah, who did we snub the most?
And we
without even
definitely
mentioning
snubbed Johnny Davis, and I feel like there's some Wisconsin fans out there that are like, how could you not talk about this man? He was electric. He already has a Taco Bell commercial. In fact, when we asked who is him, Johnny Davis was my dark horse answer to be him. I'm not saying he's going to be that guy, but I think he might be one of the ones. So
Yeah.
shout out to Johnny Davis.
That's a good call. He's already got a Taco Bell commercial.
Yeah, he's
That's
already out here. He's already out here.
He's the biggest snub from
Just
We
wanted to say
we
that.
didn't talk about the my two favorite Duke players, AJ Griffin and Mark Williams.
I know I was gonna say those two guys. I like if the Hornets took those two guys, I'm really
Wait,
happy.
you said it to Sam as we were wrapping up. I mean, for God's sakes, we could talk to him for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we will. Maybe one of these draft years when he's not writing so much. When his draft guide clocks in at 75,000 words, we'll be able to have Sam on a little longer.
We also forgot to mention that he did he has tiers obviously, and there is no tier one.
There's
prospect.
no tier ones. Yeah.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So if you're just catching up, there are no tier one
We
prospects.
should have called him out for that because that's
That's hilarious.
Cowardly.
Well, it's also hilarious. I mean,
His explanation makes sense as to why he didn't do it, but it's like, how can the starting tier be tier 2? That's some Jimmy Dykes.
yeah.
Jimmy Dykes is like, here's how I see these teams. Here's the team's flying coach. Here's the team's flying business class, but not the lie flat seats. No lie flat seats here.
Yeah.
You're like,
That's a
Jimmy,
different level. Yeah. The plane just keeps updating.
My first shout out, I want to shout out the late Caleb Swanigan. Tate, news broke today as we're recording this on a Tuesday that Caleb Swanigan passed away, and it's not really in the tenor of our show to kind of mourn the loss of guys and pour one out for guys and all that sort of stuff. But Caleb Swanigan is an exception because this man was inspiring to say the least. He was my immediate thoughts, and I think I replied to Purdue's account on Twitter or something. I think I said this, but this is what as I've thought of Caleb Swanigan all day, this is the thought that kept coming back to my mind was, as a Big Ten guy myself, that cheers for basically every Big Ten team except for Purdue and Michigan. or has some sort of tie to all of them. Caleb Swanigan was one of the rare people that was so good and so likable that even every Indiana fan I know that I respect loved Caleb Swanigan. They absolutely loved him. All the Ohio State fans loved Caleb Swanigan. Everyone in the conference loved Caleb Swanigan, and Caleb Swanigan kicked your ass. Like, he averaged 19 and 13 a game. You know how rare that is, like to have a guy
Big
that's
Ten
like
player of the year. I mean,
to be Big Ten player of the year, dominating every single all these teams, and yet he had not only the respect, but like people were cheering for him, people liked him, and that's very, very hard to do, and that's kind of like that would be Caleb Swanigan's legacy to me. Is I'll remember like how hard he worked at Purdue. He was just like, it was insane. He was on another level, hunting rebounds and posting up, and I remember like being inspired to do like a film breakdown when when I was at Grantland at the time, or we were at the Ringer, whenever. It was maybe in between the switch over. But I remember calling the bosses and be like, I got to do something on Caleb. So I want to do like a film breakdown. I don't even do film breakdowns. But like I would watch Caleb Swanigan fight so hard for rebounding position and post position, play so hard, be a great teammate. He could shoot the three. He's one of my favorite college basketball players ever, and I'm truly heartbroken to see the news today. So I just wanted to say that because I don't know. It sucks. There's no other way around it. So
in his story, I mean, the basketball was, like you said, it was a separate version. Like, it was stardom. You could see it, but I mean, he grew up homeless.
Yeah,
this guy
literally.
He went to 13 different schools by the age of 13. He was adopted by his AAU coach. Yeah. That is how, like, he came into this basketball life of his. He ends up being Mr. Basketball of Indiana, as you know. That's a huge thing. He's a McDonald's All-American. He's a first-round pick. I mean, the story of Caleb Swanigan to go from being – I mean, this isn't poor. This is desolate, what he came from and what he became. And, he was one of those guys that you and I – and anyone that watched him, there's no way that you came away not having an affinity for him as a basketball player. Then you learn the story behind the basketball player, and you're like, my God, I mean, this kid is on another level.
There are a lot of guys that have come through the Big Ten in my lifetime that I've said I'll never forget that guy. Yeah. To be completely honest, I've probably forgotten like 70% of those guys that I've said that about. Caleb Swanigan, I will 10 million%. I mean, he was special, man. He's on the if I'm putting together Purdue Mount Rushmore, he's on it. I don't know who. I mean, Glenn Robinson's on it. He's on it. John Wooden would probably have to be on it, but I would give John Wooden so many buckets, dude. Like, I really would. John Wood or Bob Cousy, who do you got? Carson Edwards has probably got to be on it. Jaden Ivey's got. But my Mount Rushmore is John Wooden, Glenn Robinson, Caleb Swanigan, Carson Edwards, and Jaden Ivey. It's those five on my 4-person Mount Rushmore. There it is.
Locked in.
Chad Austin, Brian Cardinal, Brad Miller.
Yeah, if you go back, though, to 2016, 2017, we're doing One Shutting Podcast. We talk about Caleb Swanigan just ad nauseum because that's how much he was dominating college basketball in the zeitgeist.
He was magnetic. He was like if he was on television, I was watching it because he would just like I said, like he wasn't flashy per se, but he could do it all. And I don't know, man. He embodied Purdue basketball. Like he's one of those guys that if you never had a name on the front of his jersey and you just watched him play and he goes like an NBA draft combine site and you just watch him through the combine and you had to pick what school that guy went to. It's like Purdue. You could just tell. You can tell by the way he plays. Yeah. He plays his ass off. Yeah, and he's got a good looking jump shot. That's pretty much it. Robbie Hummel probably belongs on the Mount Rushmore too. And Etuan Moore. And Jawan Johnson too. So put those guys on there as well. All right, moving on. Anything else?
Quickly, I said this at the start of the show, but we're a basketball podcast, and there's a basketball movie that's I think #1 in the world or globally on Netflix. I don't know how that works, but Hustle. If you haven't seen it, Adam Sandler movie.
I've not seen it.
A little skeptical. I had a friend of mine force me to watch it while he was at my house. He was like, "I'm putting on Hustle. You're gonna like the movie." I'm like, I don't want to see this. I really enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was groundbreaking. I'm not saying it was, one of the best basketball movies I've ever seen, but it's good. It's fun. It's good to see the Sixers, you know what I mean? And it's good to see Adam Sandler have a good time. So Jim also agreed. He actually liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought Anthony Edwards was great in it.
Anthony Edwards is amazing.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Giannis is my #1 investment as far as like I put my life on this guy being an all-time great. My #2, put my life, this guy's going to be an all-timer, Anthony Edwards.
Which is hilarious because on we're doing our draft show, the one thing I know most about Anthony Edwards, like even after the great run he's had so far in the NBA, you say Anthony Edwards, the first thing that comes to mind is him saying, "I don't even like basketball."
Well, he said he likes it now. He said
he goes number 1
it.
overall, and I was like, this guy's gonna suck, and he's amazing. And Anthony Edwards taught me that pre-draft interviews mean nothing.
Or dumb. Yeah,
they're stupid.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to be here.
And you also realize that Ant-Man's funny, you know what I mean? So like he
Yeah.
says stuff just to say stuff.
Well, Hustle's good. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's good. The one problem I had with it though was there's a montage where it shows all these like talking heads talking about where this guy come from, like this star international player. And I was waiting for you guys to pop up and hate on the guy, being like,
Yes.
he didn't play college basketball.
Yeah.
This guy sucks.
Yeah, he could never make it in the ACC. Who's Bo Cruz?
He couldn't handle that crowd in Lubbock.
Cruz.
There's no way. That Texas Tech
Bo Cruz
crowd.
couldn't play at Wake
They
Forest.
needed haters in there, and you guys should have been in
We
there.
should have been
Would've
haters.
perfect.
man.
We're haters
I
for
don't know
hire.
why they didn't
Hustle
throw
too.
one person. hating.
Quickly, my final shout outs. Bob McKillop retired from
Yep.
Davison. Mr. K to Davidson.
I mean, a lot of people were saying Bob McKillop to the Hornets and then recruit
Bob
Steph
McKillop
Curry.
to the Hornets.
Yeah.
I think when Mr. K gets the itch to coach again and he tries to supplant John Shire and it doesn't work, it backfires. He ends up at Davidson.
On a serious note, if Michael Jordan hires Roy Williams to be the coach of the Hornets, how much does Coach K put his name in for the LA job? Any LA job.
LA job.
He's just like, I'll coach the Clippers. I'll coach the Lakers. Like, we're good. We have coaches.
He sends a fax to
So
the
if he
NBA
sends
that
a
just says
flare
LA
out-
job. It's like, what are we doing?
K to LA? Question mark. That's what we need.
Speaking of North Carolina, Pete Nance to North Carolina. Are they
Let's go.
your preseason number 1? Have you guys officially won the offseason now?
I think we are the national champions of the offseason, but we also don't want to be. So we will pass that to Gonzaga. Congratulations to Gonzaga.
Give it to
you did
Creighton,
it again.
dude. Let Creighton win the offseason.
Creighton can't win it.
That's a Creighton
You have to
thing,
qualify. You have to qualify.
though. Creighton would be the most.
We will
excited
never
to
give
win it.
Creighton anything.
Creighton, I know that's true, but Creighton of all the teams that are in the running to win the offseason national championship, Creighton is the team that would actually hang him.
Can we bring Memphis back? I want Memphis back. I like them. They're my favorite offseason champ.
Finally, my last thing is Joey Baker to Michigan.
Is he finally going to get his senior
Let's go to
day?
Michigan,
Is he finally going to get his senior day?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're all waiting on. The guy deserves a senior day. I actually really like Joey Baker. I think he could be a really good player if he went to underneath a coach that could actually coach. I think he would have really blossomed. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see if I hate him at Michigan. I didn't hate him at Duke. I felt bad for him. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. That's all I'll say. I'll give him a chance. I'll give him a chance.
I'll give him a chance too. I'll pull for Joey Baker. I like Duke defectors.
That's it. I think that's the show. We're gonna do a show on Thursday after the draft. So we're gonna watch the draft. We're gonna I'm coming over to your place, right? We're gonna watch the draft together and then do immediate reactions.
Let's just do it to the first round.
Yeah, maybe we just do the draft during the second round. We should just do it after Jaden Ivey goes.
Yeah, exactly.
After the Pacers pick, after the Hornets pick their first round.
After the Hornets trade the 15th pick, I think we
we'll just
start
go
our
live.
show. Yeah.
But we got that. We're gonna do that on Thursday. So we'll see you guys then.